Hello, everyone. I am Soda, and I am here with Dr. Tanya Powell, who is an amazing writer. And do you want to talk a little bit about your book, I Choose Me?
Yes. All right. So this is my book, I Choose Me. I wrote this book during COVID, around 2020, after going on a solo trip to Tobago. Um, I really went to Tobago with the idea of doing something phenomenal or remarkable. I solo travel a lot. I went to France, southern France, this summer, and it allows me to just, touch my inner self and be able to make goals for the future and reflect on my life for the year. So that's kind of what I was doing with this book. I wrote this book in a year, and I decided to write this book after coming from Tobago. I wanted to do something because I felt like I wanted to leave my mark on this earth. And the first thing I wanted to do when I got back from Tobago is I wanted to tell my boyfriend about the fact that I was going to write a book about my life. And, he was somewhat consumed with his own life. And we kind of got in an argument, and he had said something negative about my book. And I used that to motivate me to finish the book. I actually told him, I can't do this, because I had spent the year putting all my eggs in one basket and just inspiring him and motivating him. And I felt like it was time for myself. And those negative words towards me made me work even harder to get the book finished in a year. The book starts out with me running in the alley, and it's broken up into segments of fear, hate, and it moves into things like trust and forgiveness and love. Throughout the book, it shows how my life changed. It starts when I was about 10 years old. I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. And my father had a degree in geology. He was a geologist. My mother was a nurse, but we still lived in a very humble, upbringing, basically. And my parents fought a lot. And I realized in the book, there were a lot of parallels between my mother and myself and what ended up happening to me in my life. I went to college, and, when I lived in the city in Baltimore, I prayed every day to be able to go to college. And when I was able to go, it was very hard financially to stay and keep my scholarships going and everything like that. And I felt like I needed to be rescued. And I ended up meeting what would become my husband, my ex-husband. And that need to be rescued sent me on this adventure of all these different experiences in which I was able to find out who I was, and I was able to find out how strong I truly am through that marriage and through having my children.
I love when you talked about, like, your ex-boyfriend told you couldn't do it, and a lot of creatives, whether they're artists, musicians, writers, whatever, especially nowadays that AI can do a lot of this stuff. A lot of people are being told, like, you can't make money out of this. You won't be able to. That's a waste of time. And I love that you instead of going into victim mentality, which I used to have a very bad habit of doing it, you turned it around and turned it into enthusiasm and excitement. And can you talk a little bit about what are some of the ways that you did, realize your self-importance and the importance of accomplishing this goal and keeping confidence with that?
I think a lot of women, young girls, you're told constantly what you can't do. I used to have a preschool for girls, and I talk about that in my book, I Choose Me, as well. That was there to inspire and uplift women and uplift little girls, because I knew later in life they would grow to be women. And I'm like, what kind of women will they become? And I had a little girl at the time, and I wanted her to be fearless, and I wanted her to be comfortable in her own skin and confident. So I told her all these wonderful things about herself. Some of them at the time I didn't even feel about my own self, in order to get her, to motivate her into becoming the best version of herself. Um, I've always been the type of person where when someone tells me I can't do something, it like strikes a match with me, and it motivates me and makes me want to work harder. You know, from when I was younger and I told the story about doing a spelling bee and everyone doubted me in middle school, to when I went on to get my doctorate degree in education. You know, I've done a really good job of overcoming obstacles and getting things and obtaining achievements and and education and so forth in the midst of chaos, you know? And I think my message with my book is I want to tell women that you are powerful, you are fearless, you can do anything you want to. And you're someone besides being a mother, you're someone besides being a wife. Because I think a lot of times once we, you know, we go into that role of marriage and children, we forget who we are. We don't know who we are anymore. You know, everything is for the kids. I watched some of my daughter's a competitive dancer, and you know we have this mom chat and everybody is every little thing, what are the girls doing, what are they doing, how are we doing, we're going to take them this. And you know, sometimes I say, well, what are you doing for yourself? You know, I think sometimes I stand out in the group because they see me always, I'm doing things, I'm going out, I'm having fun, I'm taking time to treat myself, I'm taking time to love on myself. And self-care is a big topic in my book. How do you love on yourself? How do you feel? And I explore all the different things that happen with women, like giving up your education, giving up your career for your family, for your children. And I did it because I experienced it, you know, and I wanted to set a message out there that it's okay to choose yourself. It's okay to live for you. Of course, you want to be a great mother. You want to be a great wife. And if you're married, you know, you do, you know, you have a partnership with your spouse. But there is you, you know, there is time that you have to take for you. I was watching that show, that the new Sex in the City. And just like that, and Charlotte was on there. She was doing everything for her daughter, everything for her husband. And then she just had like a major meltdown because she hadn't did anything for herself. And I totally could relate to that, you know, and it has you lost because you're, you know, as a woman, you're being a mother and being a wife is not your only job. You're also a person and you have dreams and you have goals, and it's not fair that they are to be sacrificed for everyone around you in order for them to persevere and you not. So
Yes, oh, that is such an important message because, like, as creatives, we care so much. We care not just like, and even for people who aren't mothers, like, there's something about being a creative and just feeling like you need to solve the world's problems
yeah.
when you have your own problems that and the importance of you need to take care of yourself before you take care of others. And I was wondering, I know a lot of people, when they hear self-care, they think, getting your nails done or whatever, which can sometimes be important. But what are some ways that you in particular practice self-care in a way that helps motivate you and be able to reach your creative goals?
Sometimes just saying no can be self-care. I tell people, I had put that up on my social media profile. Just telling someone no, because a lot of us, you know, we give until we have nothing left. For me, I love traveling. So that's my big thing. I love going places, meeting new people. When I go by myself, I always feel like God connects me with people that are there to help me and motivate me. And in my book, I Choose Me, I share some stories of the people that I met on my trips that I've taken, and how it's like, how did this happen? How did I end up right here at this particular moment, at this particular place, with this wonderful message that I believe that God wanted me to hear in order for me to grow spiritually. In my book, I had met this woman. I called her Destiny in my book, but she was my massage therapist. She was a local. She gave me a massage. But my first time on her chair, her name's Siobhan. Soothe and Touch Massage is her massage company in Trinidad, well, in Tobago. And when I got on the table with her, the first thing she said to me is, forgive yourself, heal, you're loved and you're amazing. And I was like, I had many massages in my life, and I've never had someone talk to me like that and tell me those things. And throughout my book, you hear very much compassionate and bonding moments amongst women, where it was times where I thought I was on my own when I was fighting over custody of my sons. I thought I was on my own when I had to stay in a women's shelter from abuse. And a woman was, was able to just be there for me. And a woman I like knew from nowhere. Just the fact that we had that commonality, and I think that we understood each other because of that. So the self-care, I would say, is saying no, taking time out to just think and reflect on my life. Traveling is one thing for me. Loving myself, and just appreciating and thanking myself. Even I've seen some people practice what's called gratitude and thanking God for everything that they've done in their life. We're always asking for things, but never really thanking someone. Well, thank you for this, and thank you. And just being kind to people. I feel like sometimes I have this new job. I'm a school teacher full time. And the people that I meet, it's like I met this new job. Everyone is super nice and kind. And it's not always like that at school. And I feel like that's part of the self-care. Me putting out what I want back from the earth in return, and me receiving it and thanking God and thanking the universe for allowing me to be able to be a part of that. So don't think that self-care has to involve a whole lot of money. It doesn't. It could be a walk to the park, and not taking your kids and leaving them with a loved one who is responsible. Taking that time to just be alone and do something that you want to do. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing that right now. Like my toddler all day has been off and on between my parents. I'm visiting my parents this week, and also the iPad, because I'm like, you know what? I just want to take this day to talk to people. For me, I've been living somewhere far away from my family for 2 years, and just I need this interaction. And sometimes it's hard for us to really realize what we need and what our worth is. I don't know if you had any tips on how to kind of separate your art from you as a person, and really value your worth and realize what it is that you are needing.
So basically, you're saying, like, how can I separate and make time for what I want to do? You mean like make time for what I'm trying to create? Especially as a mother or having children, that can definitely, for yourself, having a toddler, that can definitely be time consuming. Even as a teacher, I have another book that I have about 3 chapters written, and I've been pitching this book to different literary agents. It's a totally different genre of a book. And sometimes I feel down on myself. I work and writing is very, you got to have that, in you to just write, to motivate you and encourage you. And for me, I use negativity to motivate me and push me. Self-doubt from other people to make me go further and to drive me. When I was getting my doctorate degree, I was a stay-at-home mom, but my kids, I was busy with their schedule, but I woke up 4 o'clock in the morning and I was studying and getting my notes written and rewriting my dissertation so that I would, get that done. And when I wrote the book here, it's 400 pages. It was 200 when I was typing it, but it came out to be 400 in print. And I found the time because I saw how it was healing me when I was writing it. And I thought about all the people that it would actually help. The crazy thing about this book is that I wrote this book because I was in this relationship, and I said before, and I was putting all of this into this man, and I wanted him, in reading the book, to see who I was, because I felt like I was invisible to him. I felt like I was invisible to him for an entire year. And I wanted to show him who I was and why I was the way I was, because he used to tell me I would breathe life into him. But he had suffered from depression, and it was starting to take a toll on me because I too struggle with depression. So I'm like, trying to handle both. And I'm saying I go to a therapist, and I wanted him to go to a therapist too, but he was a little bit, I kept putting it off, and for the whole year, pushing it like he didn't want to do that. And I decided, I can't do this relationship anymore if you're not going to seek mental health. Later, by the time I was finished this book, that person committed suicide. And the thing that was so crazy about that situation is he did not just commit suicide for himself, but he murdered the girl he was in a relationship with and his ex-wife that he was in a relationship with. So it showed me too that I wanted him to see this book. I love this man. He was never violent or anything with me, but I knew that he was suffering from something, and I knew what he was suffering from could ooze out and affect me in some type of way, in some type of manner, and I didn't want to be a part of it. And I had to choose me, no matter if I loved him or not. I had to break that relationship because I could see the signs and I saw the red flags and I followed them. And in the past, like with my ex-husband, I didn't follow the red flags, and I went down a different path that was rocky and hard. And now, being older, when I see those signs, I stop myself, and just like with a content creator or someone, you have to be a visionary, and you have to be careful about who you are. You got to make time for yourself, and you have to think about the people that you surround yourself with, and if these are the type of people who are going to distract you from your purpose. Is your circle of friends, are they motivators? Like my circle of friends, most of them are self-employed business owners, doing very well. Like when I'm sitting up here and I'm at my full-time job and I'm not doing things with my book, and I see on social media, they're pushing and marketing constantly their content that they've created. It encourages me to work harder, encourages me, oh, let me take time. Let me make time for this interview. Let me do this, because now I'm doing something that's for what my true passion is, which is writing, So I would say you want to look around. Who is around you? Who is absorbing your energy? Who is reflecting back to give you what you're putting out, to make you move in the direction that you want to? Because like they say, your friends are a reflection of yourself. Your friends will show you who you're going to be, where you're going to go. So you want them to show, if you're a content creator or you're an author, you want to surround yourself with people too who are writing or who are in the arts or who are doing things that are positive. Even though, my ex-boyfriend, I loved him, and I saw that I had to sacrifice the love that I had for him for myself. I see women all the time in these, domestic violence situations, and I see these, these women, and, they're being murdered in front of their children. Their children are being affected. And you think about what was leading up to it. I'm sure there were some signs. I'm sure there were some red flags. I'm sure there were some friends that might have said this to him, and they didn't think it was possible. And they went off of passion, and they said, okay, well, I really love him. I definitely loved him, but I knew I loved myself more. I knew I did. And that's what my book, I Choose Me, is about, is loving yourself more, not sacrificing you in order to help someone else. Even if it's your kids. And if people don't understand, they say, what do you mean? It's your child. I have three great kids. My two sons, they're in college right now. My daughter, she's makes straight A's. She's an amazing dancer. But if I wouldn't have been able to be a good mother to them, if I would have stayed in a relationship that was making me depressed, a relationship that was making me not feel good about myself, and depressing me more. So I had to make that step, and it was a hard step, and it did change the dynamics of my family. It built resentment with my sons and myself. And, it separated my sons from their sister. But in overall, I feel like I was able to regain that communication with my sons. I was able to talk openly and get forgiveness, and get forgiveness from them for the way that I left, and etc. And I'm alive. I'm alive in so many different aspects, whether it's from the relationship that I had with my ex-husband that was tumultuous, or the relationship I ended up having with this individual, where he ended up taking his life, and the women that were around him. So I just kind of, I feel blessed, and with the way the world is going right now, with suicide becoming such a big, you know, increasing, and you're seeing more and more people taking their lives and not feeling like they can make it. I'm like, you know, this is my moment to help women. I'm not making a lot of money from this book. I'm not. I wanted it to be, I wanted to have it with an agent in a big publishing company, but it was more important. I went ahead and self-published it after my friend took his life, because I felt like it needed to be out there as fast and hurry, and people needed it. So here I am, and I'm making time, even with my full-time job. I'm overwhelmed. I'm a dance mom. I'm making as much time as I can, because it's something that I care about and I'm passionate about, and I'm going to make time for it, so.
That's
Yeah.
such a powerful message and a powerful story. And you could tell that this is, you know, like it has nothing to do with money. It's you wanting to share an important message that, and as like what you were talking about, how like part of self-care, it's eliminating sometimes people or things that are harming you. Like I had to cut off my biological mom because
Mm-hmm.
and I still feel a little guilty of it, but like she was hurting me like spiritually and emotionally, and just realizing that you deserve to be around good people who are going to uplift you. And wow, that's such a powerful message.
Yeah.
um and you like I love the thing I love about writers, especially like creators of all types can do this, but writers especially, they get so passionate about their book
Mm-hmm.
and just want to share it with everyone. They're not scared. Well, a lot of them. And like having that passion, like you could feel the passion in you. And you were saying earlier about how you would sometimes wake up at 4 a.m. to reach your goal in school, and you had the passion and hard work to write this book. And I know a lot of creatives feel like they're working 40 to 60 hours a week, and oh, I don't have time to do this. And can you maybe talk a little bit about how taking action is a form of self-care?
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely. Doing something you really want to do and you're passionate about. Like sitting up here, like I said, my daughter is a competitive dancer. Dance season starts next week. And she's literally, once we start getting these dance numbers, she's literally out there 6 days a week. I'm running back and forth like a little taxi cab, making time. And the first year we started, I was doing an admin certification. I had maybe 2 people in my life who passed away. I had a little girl I ended up saving at the dance studio. I had, and I was working on the book. I had so much going on. And I used to feel bad because sometimes I would have to leave, or sometimes I would have to do this or get other people to help me. And the mothers really, they helped me a lot and were there for me, because I was the only single mother. Most of them were married. And I used to try to explain to my daughter, I would have these talks with her. I'm like, I love you. I'm there for you. I'm exhausted. I'm doing everything on my own. And I want you to be, a phenomenal woman. I want you to look at me, and I want you to see how hard I work and how I push and I persevere and I push through things. But I also want you to see that I have to do this for me, that this is important, that I have to have something. There's a part in my book, a chapter in my book, where I'm making sure my sons are fine, my ex-husband is fine, but I break down crying because I'm like, I feel incomplete, like I didn't do anything because didn't do my initial mission, which is I wanted to be a pharmacist, and I didn't do that, and I sacrificed it for my family and changed my career, and now everything was about them. I think as a writer or as any type of person or any female or any person with a passion, you have to give yourself permission to go ahead and do something for yourself, especially I think as women, because we're groomed for everything to be about someone else. We're groomed to be nurturers. So you have to say, okay, where am I going to be? Am I going to really be doing this for the rest of my life? What's going to happen when the kids grow up? What's going to happen when they get ready to leave the house? Where am I going to be? What's going to be left for me? What do I want for myself? What did I want when I was a little girl? What did I want when I was 17 and 18 years old, before the marriage, before all of these other things came into play? What did I want for me? And let me take some steps. Let me write it down. Let me think, okay, what are the little things that I can do within this month for myself that will get me towards my goal? And then you break it into, what can I do this year? And when I would go on these solo trips, that's what I would do. This past year, I was like, I don't want to live in trauma. I want to live in happiness. I want to spend time, even though I had to revisit all this negativity in my book. I was like, now I want to love on me. I want to live the soft life. I want to do things that make me feel comfortable. I don't want to be exhausted, and I want to take time for myself. And sometimes my sons will come visit and they'll say, why are you going to this comedy show by yourself? We're here. And I'm like, look, it's for me. I deserve something. We did this for you for your birthday. We did this for you for Christmas. Don't you think I deserve to have something nice for me? Don't you love me enough to say, you do this? My ex-husband has said to me, maybe a year ago, or he was wanting me to move closer to be near my sons in North Carolina, but I make more money here teaching in Maryland, and I'm happy. And, I said to him, I said, you know what? I am happy, and I'm not going to sacrifice that for anyone. I was like, our kids are grown. My sons are 19 and 21 years old, and I love them, and they know that. And we're the closest beings, like, best friends. They come to me for everything. Their relationships, they come to me first. They like, talking to me about things, and I listen, I hear them. And my oldest son said to me, Mom, you're happy. You don't need to come back here. Dad might think this is best for us, but you're doing your book, you're doing what makes you happy. We can come here on the train. I visit them. They visit me already. It was like, you don't need to do that. They gave me the permission. And I think it's because they've seen me and they see that this is something that I love to do. And I taught them, to fight for what you love. And I think as a creator, I have friends that have almost went homeless for their business, but in their passion and what they wanted to do. And when I had my daycare, I literally almost went homeless myself with that business. But the thing about that, I would never change it for the world. I learned CPR, and I took a CPR class with that all-girls school. And I used to say when I lost my business that, if it was just for me to help the women who came to my center, I only got six mothers, children there, but we had such a bond. The mothers who went to my daycare, all their lives have changed for the better. I was there too, helping women who had been victims of domestic violence and letting them come to my center when they were in court for free. And that CPR I learned was able to save another person's life, in the future, which was, a couple years ago. I saved a little girl's life who was 15 from learning that CPR at that daycare. So, I lost some money, but I saved a life, And like I said, I feel like with God, you meet people for different reasons. They give you something, like, meeting you. This is the first time, I've met you, and maybe what I'm saying is a message for you, or something that you might have needed to hear, or someone who will listen to this live is something was important for them. They needed that, that voice. So I would definitely say, fight for what you believe in, fight for your passion, don't give up, look at where you want to be. Um, I remember Oprah used to say, find out who you would like to be like, use that as a blueprint. Look at how they got to where they got, and where they've gone, and do that and mirror it, copy it, mirror it, use it like teaching, use their best practices, So that's what.
Yeah, I can tell you that. I mean, there's some things that you said that I absolutely needed to hear, and I'm sure people who will be listening to this will appreciate it too. And man, I just want to buy your book for all my sisters now. So I'll at least be getting a couple of them, because wow, this message is so important. And I'm so glad that you joined me today.
Yeah.
And I know we probably I need to let you go, but I just didn't know if you had any last words or anything else you want to say before we end.
I always, and sometimes like as a writer, it's like you feel like you're being annoying, because every time I talk to my different female friends and I'm like, I wrote this in my book. Like, because most of the time once people start reading it, they read it in a day or two, because it's a page turner. If I'm speaking to the writers, find out what motivates you, what drives you. If I'm speaking to the writers or the content creators, or what is your passion? What is it? Why? And who are you doing this for? And you might just be doing it for yourself. You might be doing it for a new life, whatever. But you want to use that as fuel, like gasoline for your tank, for your car, to motivate you to get where you want to get in life. And look at where's your hopes and dreams. I know a lot of women who started out with me in college. One of my good girlfriends, she had a vision board, and she would make new vision boards. After she completed the first vision board, she'd get herself another vision board. So, where do you see yourself, or where do you want to be with yourself in 10 years? One thing with me is, when I was married, I used to have the same life every year. Now, I don't know where I'm going to be in 3 months. I don't know. So many crazy things happen, good and bad. I don't know where I'm going to be in 3 months. But what I've learned how to do is accept it and learn from the experiences and so forth. So the message I want to leave with everyone is to take time for yourself. Take time for yourself. Take time to pray over yourself. Take time to thank you for all the good things, and concentrate on the good things that are happening in your life and what you have to be the most proud of. There's a part in my book where I'm looking myself on vacation. They always say, take your clothes off and look at yourself, and love on yourself, and look at as a mother, the stretch marks, or the bruises, or the whatever you've been through, and embrace them, and heal from them, and look and find the true beauty inside of yourself. And that's the message I want to pretty much give everyone, is to take time to love on you, even when you feel the most unloved. And I tell my students that too, and create the boundaries. I had to block my mother. I had to block a lot of people in my life. I felt alone, and, at different times, and I felt like I had no one. But if you do have a religious base, for me, I have a spiritual base, and I've become closer with God. I had him I could depend on. You know what I mean? And I thought I needed everyone else's approval. I thought I needed help from everyone around me. And I think sometimes he took those people out of me, away from me, so I could see how strong I was, so you could see how strong I was, and how much he wants you to grow. So if you open your eyes up, you speak to people, you'll see God will send you some messengers like myself, for you maybe, to give you some message of hope, and for healing, and for growing, and things like that. So I just want to be like that for other people, for all the love that's been poured in me, that God has done. And he sent these, I have all these story angels that are in here too. I want to give back. So.
You are giving back. You like, don't, I like, I want to. You are doing all that. So yes. Oh my gosh. And that's what, I'm so glad we connected, because that's my whole message is,
Yeah.
growing, healing, um, being your best self. So thank you again. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. And remember I will make sure to link the book below. So anyone wants to check it out, it sounds amazing. And yeah, I will see you later. Bye.
Thank you so much. Okay, bye bye.